Hi everybody, welcome to Shiver Speaks. Today, as our first post of October, we're going to kick it off with some Halloween haunt reviews for North Carolina specific haunted houses. So, if you were around for last year's haunt reviews, we went to Panic Point, we went to a couple others in the area, but mostly went to ones that were in Pennsylvania or New York. So, this year we went to Panic Point, Holler and Haunt so far, and Woods of Terror. So for Woods of Terror, we went for the opening night, which was Friday the 13th. And this was a very big production. So last year they did a Halfway to Halloween haunted house. And they weren't expecting, apparently, the amount of people that they had gotten for that event. So the wait was just insane. This being their opening night, I think they were a little bit more prepared. So I was already off to a good start with Woods of Terror for that. The one thing really off the bat that I did like about Woods of Terror was the security element. So you do have to wait in a pretty long line to get in just because every single person has to go through a metal detector through security. But I do find some comfort in that. So it was a very long time waiting in line just to get in the doors. It's probably about an hour. Um, and they do have it broken up where it's like a 7:30 arrival and 8:30 arrival based on your ticket price. I don't think they really upheld that, but that was the experience going in. And what I think is pretty cool about Woods of Terror is that it is similar to Reaper's Revenge in that there's one in, there's one out. Like you go in one way, you walk through all of the haunted houses, and then you're done when you're done. Whereas most of these places will have a little hub in the center, and then you choose where you want to go from there. Having this be a one in, one out, what they do is very unique. They have an app, and so you'll go up to the front of the line where there's like a little security person, and they give you this code, you scan the code, and then on your phone, you are now waiting in line. So that way you get to kind of wander around their whole midway section. There's lots to do. There's a band playing, there's drinks, there's food, there's two different shops that are there. So it makes it very entertaining, and I think if you're somebody who has kids, then that's a really good way to keep them busy rather than waiting in line. My only complaint about it is that once you click out of wherever you've scanned the code, you don't know where you are in line anymore. So you could be waiting an hour, you could be waiting 10 minutes. You really don't know. Granted, you can't really go very far, but it would be nice to just kind of keep that up to date, or at least say, like, you were number 140 in line. So, yeah, I think the waiting was very long for that. But once you do go through the walkthrough, it is a 100% walkthrough. There's no hayride, there's no nothing. It's a lot to look at. There's 16 haunted houses all together, and they're all very well put together. There's no section in particular that's cheapened. There's nothing that is less put together than any other places, but it's very cool to be able to have that conversation piece of what house was your favorite or what house was your favorite. So this year, I don't believe they had it last year. This year they now have a whole Stranger Things house. That was absolutely incredible. My favorite piece was this walk-through funeral home, and they had all of these different coffins on the wall. All of the detail in that house in particular makes me believe that this is a multi-million-dollar, if not at least $1 million production. So there's a lot of quality that's going into it. There is a couple of cheap things like scares. They have this one whole section that is all pirates, and you walk onto this pirate ship, and the mechanics of it are very cool because it feels like the pirate ship is swaying back and forth, but everything that's outside of the pirate ship and even inside the pirate ship makes it kind of feel like you're going mini golfing. So I think it takes away from some of the Halloween authenticity a little bit. So that I would give a little bit of a meh to. But overall, I mean, the details are there, and everything that you would want to see in a haunted house is there. Would I go get back in line for 2 hours to do it again? I don't know. I would not be so inclined to do so, but that's because I would want something that's a little bit scarier. I think this is the absolute perfect haunted house for someone who wants to have a good quality time but doesn't want to worry about being scared. So, in terms of the actual rating for Woods of Terror, on a scale of 1 to 5 for artistry, I would give it probably about a 4. For production itself, I would give it a 5. For customer service, I would give it a 3, just simply because checking in was not the smoothest process and not a lot of people had information. It just was a little bit of lack of staff. A lot of actors, a lot of scare actors, not a lot of staff. But we then have environment. I'll give it a 4. Even before that, it was rainy, but everything was gravel. Everything was safe. You didn't slip anywhere, so that was great. Decor, absolutely 5 out of 5. Again, I think that this is either close to $1 million or over $1 million production. There's a lot to look at, which is awesome. For makeup and costumes, I'll give it a 5. There's a lot of actors, there's a lot of costumes, there's a lot of people to take pictures with, which I think brings that entertainment factor and is fun. And then for scares, I would give it about a 3. Again, it's not very scary. It's not really advertised for family friendly, but it is very family friendly. So there is that element. So all of that put together, you get 4.2 out of 5. I think it's a pretty fair rating for our first haunted house of the year. So on to Panic Point. So I have developed a little bit of a sweet spot for Panic Point. When I first moved to North Carolina in 2017, this was the first haunted house that myself and my sister went to, and it felt very much like it was in just somebody's backyard. It was just not good. I said I would never go again. Not a big fan. But last year I went for the first time after that, 6 years later, and they really did a great job. There's all these different walkthroughs. So there's the Haunted Forest, which is kind of what they're known for. There's the Haunted Hayride, Stalker's Farm, another Killers in the Corn, which is another farm thing, and then the Dark Swamp. And then you have the Carnival Crypt, but that is extra if you want to pay for that. So you have the hub, and then you have the options of where to go. So last year they did the Haunted Hayride as this werewolf has escaped. I think what they did was really great because after everybody went through that hayride, anybody who bought a ticket got a Google form to just provide feedback. Did you like the Haunted Hayride? Did you think it was cheesy? What were your thoughts? So I thought it was really great that they did that. This year they kept it similar, but instead of werewolves, they did zombies. So now when you're on the Haunted Hayride, you're going against like a zombie safari gone wrong. So it's cute. It's not scary, but you know, it is what it is. The Stalker's Farm, this is just your very typical corn maze. Killers in the Farm is another corn maze sort of, but with all of the icons of horror. So Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers, all the people. That, I think, from last year to this year is the most improved location. I think that they did a really great job with that one. Same with the Dark Swamp. I am an avid non-fan of the dark because I think if you're going to have a haunted house and spend all of this money on decorations and lighting and structures, all for people to just be more concerned of where they're going, is such a wasted opportunity. So the Dark Swamp, of course, you expect it to be dark. What I really like that they do is they have a rope that you follow, so you know where you're going. That is the number one thing I don't like about the dark, is that it's just, I want to know where I'm going. So being able to hold on to the rope the whole time made it a lot more enjoyable. And this year was much, much darker than last year, but it really wasn't unbearable. The Haunted Forest was the exact same as last year. I would have liked to see a couple of different changes, but it is a very long walkthrough, still just as good. But those are all of the attractions for Panic Point. So compared to last year we gave it a 4.2. This year we did go down a little bit. So for artistry, I gave it a 3, just because they have not done really anything new whatsoever. For production, I gave it a 4. It's well put together, it's well done. There's nothing that you feel like is gonna fall apart. For customer service, I also gave that a 3. There's really nobody around. once you go through just getting your ticket, there's nothing left to see. So after that, we have environment. That I gave a 3. They were supposed to open last Friday night and ended up pushing it to Saturday instead. So we went for opening night. They supposedly had limited tickets because it was just so muddy and because of all of the rain. I'm glad that they put that out there on their social, so I was expecting it. But walking through the corn mazes, I ended up slipping and like grabbing onto the walls just from all of the mud more than trying to walk through. So I think they could have done a better job of at least laying down some gravel or some pallets, something that would help with the slipperiness of it, especially because the majority of these are all walkthroughs. For decor, I would give it a 4. I thought that all of the details were still good. They were still there. Again, it's just nothing new. There's no new elements to look forward to. For makeup and costumes, I would give it a 4 out of 5 as well. There's a lot of actors. They look good, but there's nothing that's like, oh my god, that makeup is so cool. That makeup is worth taking a picture with. And then for scares, I'll also give it a 3. Last year, I thought that it was a whole lot scarier. I think because I went in with lesser expectations. But this is very much teenager heavy. So one of the things that I will also kind of complain about with Panic Point is that they don't have any security whatsoever. They have cop cars parked out front, but there's nobody checking anybody. You walk up to the tent, you scan your little code from your tickets online, and that's it. Like, they're good to go. So really anybody could bring anything in, which has a little bit of that concerning factor. So I would like to see them step up with the security side of things. However, because it is so tailored to teenagers, I think there's less of a concern in that regard. So Panic Point is not necessarily somewhere I would bring little kids. It is a little bit scarier than Woods of Terror, but it's teenager heaven. It's basically like the 2000s version of them all. So you have that. And then that is it for Panic Point. So one of our just honorable mentions to talk about is Halloran Haunts. If you are in South Central North Carolina, Halloran Haunts is there. It's probably about halfway from Raleigh to Fayetteville, but we went there for the Bloody Valentine's Day event last Valentine's Day and then this past Valentine's Day. And I think they do a really good job of showing the potential of a haunted house. They are all just straight hayride. There's nothing else besides that. And then you have the 2 extra options on the side. So you have the pitch black maze, and then you have what's called the last ride. And for the last ride, you're able to get inside of a casket. They put you in a car, in a hearse, and then you go for a ride around the block. So it's interesting offers that they bring to the table, which I think is really makes them stand out. I don't know that I would go out of my way to go there, but I'll definitely go back for the Valentine's Day thing. So if you've been there for Halloween, let me know your experience. But those are our first kickoffs for Halloween haunt reviews. There will be more, of course, as the haunted season continues. But for anybody who has already gone to some Halloween haunts, let me know your favorites, your least favorites, your expectations of all of the above. What are your thoughts? And I hope you all have a wonderful start to your spooky season.